So yes, this, just for reference, will be starting in the year 1347. That is the year that this campaign will begin. However, in the year 1276, a great evil visited the continents of Alkoun and Teradar. What began as a warning became the potential end to most life across the continents over the following year, as the god of death, Merkal, walked Solran once again. With the assistance of his undead trifecta of worshippers, he unleashed a great plague which attacked the most populated regions of both continents, infecting and killing at a rate far beyond what any massing of clergy could combat. Both their vast kingdoms at risk, the dwarves and humans allied to the cause of a cure or other means beyond the Great Death, as it became called. Many trials were begun and methods used, including the attempted retrieval of a large amounts of the other planar herb used previously to cure the king. Even after every failure, more trials were undertaken. However, it wasn't until a group of adventurers, those same who had aided in curing the king months before, succeeded in the impossible task of defeating Merkal's mortal form and banishing his godly essence beyond the rift separating Solran from the varied realms of the gods. While defeated, there are many who would say Merkal succeeded in his true scheme. Over 500,000 humans and only slightly fewer dwarves lost their lives during the Great Death before the end, and the hundreds of thousands who still lived knew the cause. Merkal's name was spoken only in tones of remorse and fear from those days forward. Worshippers to him sprouted up for some years thereafter, though any that became a problem were quickly put out. The fear was there, though, and in response, King Liam Marish of Alkoun declared shortly thereafter that all across Alkoun, in order to expand, was being given. New cities began to sprout up across the country over the following years, much of which was funded by either the various lords placed in charge of regions of the continent or by the royal coffer itself. Along with this, a newfound alliance between Alkoun and Teradar opened the door for an influx of trade between the two. However, after many years of losing more than a few ships due to the nearly year-round storms that pelt lengths of the open sea between them, making shipping a long and more often than normal dangerous task, the decision to begin work on the Dunbury Way was made by a collection of investors from both Alkoun and Teradar. A long and tedious process, it took nearly a decade from its initial creation before the first real tunnels began on the northernmost regions of the Dunbury Mountains along the southeastern reaches of the Alkoun swamps. Just over a decade later, and multiple accidents, deaths, and a few caved-in sections of pass later, as well, the Dunbury Pass progress has become steady. Beyond orc and goblins, little else in the way of active threats have presented themselves, though part of that was also due to the wide berth being granted to sections of dangerous cavern. The growing length of continual passage, however, has shown itself to be a beacon of sorts, as more and more creatures and monsters have discovered it and made it a presence for themselves. Along with an increase in guards, supply lines to and from the Dunbury Way have grown and grown to the point that only the harshest of recent winters have halted the flow of new materials. These caravans hire just about anyone, though capable fighters, scouts, and mages are generally the quickest to be hired on. It is one such similar small caravan that we begin as they cross over the Shamant Pass 71 years after the return and eventual defeat of Merkal.